They were some of the most gifted musicians the world had ever seen, men and women who lived and breathed for the music that defined generations. But even legends have secrets. After decades of silence, Steve Perry, the unmistakable voice behind Journey, finally broke his quiet with a revelation that stunned the rock world. Known simply as The Voice, Perry possessed one of the most powerful and emotional vocal ranges in rock history. But when he finally named his 7 favorite musicians of all time, it wasn't just a list. It was a confession, a peek into decades of pain, rivalry, admiration, and buried truth. According to sources close to him, several rock icons weren't pleased at all. Some were furious, others heartbroken. And as Perry's word spread, music fans everywhere began debating every single name. What makes this list so explosive is the story behind each pick, the memories, the regrets, and the deep-seated emotions that Steve had kept buried for years. So today, Legend Uncovered takes you through the 7 artists who shaped and haunted Steve Perry's journey through rock history. Number 7. Aretha Franklin. Landing at number 7 is Aretha Franklin, the legendary Queen of Soul. Perry's connection with Aretha runs deeper than admiration. It comes from a memory that, according to insiders, changed him forever. Back in 1983, Steve met Aretha backstage at an awards show. Witnesses say the two shared a brief but unforgettable conversation until Aretha, in her trademark blunt style, smiled and said, "That falsetto won't last forever, honey." It was meant as a light-hearted remark, but it cut deep. Friends later revealed that Perry became obsessed with protecting his voice after that day. He studied Aretha's breathing, her phrasing, her tone, trying to understand how she delivered so much power so effortlessly. One vocal coach who worked with both of them said, "Steve had technique. Aretha had something you couldn't teach, soul." From that moment, Perry reportedly became fixated on vocal health, spending hours warming up before every performance. Producers remember him pacing the studio, endlessly humming scales. That single comment from Aretha haunted him, but it also drove him. He would later attend her concerts quietly, sitting in the back rows, just listening and taking notes. To this day, that encounter is said to mark the moment Steve began fearing the very thing that made him famous, his voice. Number 6. Sam Cooke. At number 6 sits Sam Cooke, the silky smooth voice of soul. But Perry's admiration for Cooke caused serious waves inside Journey. According to insiders, Perry always dreamed of being a soul singer. His phrasing, emotion, and tone were all inspired by Cooke. But Journey's guitarist, Neil Schon, once told him flat out, "We're a rock band, not a Motown tribute act." That line hurt more than anyone realized. Behind the scenes, Perry reportedly recorded several Sam Cooke covers in private studio, songs the public has never heard. One sound engineer who worked on those sessions said, "Those recordings were Steve's real heart. They were better than anything Journey ever did." But Journey's management wanted to protect their hard rock image. They didn't want fans to know Perry's biggest inspiration came from soul singers. Over time, that creative cage became unbearable. The man who once soared through "Don't Stop Believin'" started to feel trapped. This pick, Sam Cooke, represents the musical freedom Perry always wanted but could never fully claim. Number 5. Marvin Gaye. Coming in at number 5 is Marvin Gaye, a name tied to both admiration and fear. When Marvin was killed in 1984, Steve Perry was shattered. He saw in Marvin's tragic story the dark side of fame, the loneliness, the pressure, the industry's cruelty. Close friends say Perry secretly attended Marvin's funeral. Where witnesses spotted him crying uncontrollably, he reportedly whispered, "This is what the business does to artists." From that day forward, something inside Steve changed. On tour, he would listen to Marvin records constantly, to the point where bandmates begged him to turn them off. But it wasn't just fandom, it was reflection. Perry saw himself heading down the same road: success on the outside, pain on the inside. He even told producers, "Look what happened to Marvin when people pushed him too hard." That fear of being destroyed by the very fame he'd earned was what eventually made Perry walk away from Journey at their peak. Number 4. Donny Hathaway. At number 4, Perry named Donny Hathaway, a choice that revealed his deepest, most personal fears. Donny's music was filled with emotion, but behind it was a battle with paranoid schizophrenia. When Steve learned about that, it hit him like a warning sign. He began to see pieces of himself in Donny's story: the anxiety, the perfectionism, the exhaustion from endless touring. During Journey's peak, Perry started having panic attacks before shows. He would tell crew members, "What if I forget the words? What if my mind breaks?" Friends say he carried books about Donny Hathaway on the road, studying his tragic decline. A therapist who once worked with Steve later said, "Donny's story became Steve's nightmare, even now." It's rumored that Perry keeps photos of Hathaway in his home studio, candles lit in quiet tribute. That haunting influence might explain why Perry eventually vanished from music altogether. Donny Hathaway wasn't just an inspiration, he was a reflection of what Steve feared he might become. Number 3. Neil Schon. This next one shocked everyone. Number 3. Neil Schon, Journey's very own guitarist and, according to insiders, one of Perry's greatest rivals. Their relationship was legendary and not in a good way. During the later years of Journey, the two could barely speak to each other. Studio sessions reportedly erupted into shouting matches, even thrown equipment. Producers said it was like watching brothers tear each other apart, but despite the bitterness, Perry couldn't deny Schon's brilliance. He once admitted that Neil's guitar work helped define Journey's iconic sound. Still, their egos clashed endlessly over songwriting credits, touring schedules, everything. One former manager recalled Perry saying, "Neil's ego is bigger than his talent, and that's saying something. It's been over 20 years since the two last spoke privately. Their feud remains one of rock's most famous." And yet, Perry placing Schon on his list proves something remarkable, that even among anger, there can still be respect. Number 2. Jonathan Cain. Number 2 goes to Jonathan Cain, Journey's keyboardist and, for a time, Perry's closest friend. When Cain joined the band in 1980, the two instantly clicked. They wrote some of Journey's biggest hits together faithfully, Open Arms and Who's Crying Now. They were creative soulmates until the business got in the way. Reports claim that during Perry's health struggles, Cain sided with Neil Schon and management, pushing for a tour even when Steve wasn't ready. Perry felt betrayed. One witness says Steve looked Jonathan in the eye and said, "I thought you were on my side." Then he walked out and never came back. What began as brotherhood ended as heartbreak. Their partnership produced timeless music, but the trust was gone forever. That's why this pick feels less like admiration and more like closure. Number 1. Otis Redding. And finally, at number 1, Otis Redding. For Steve Perry, this wasn't just a favorite artist. It was a mirror of the man he always wanted to be. Long before Journey, Perry fell in love with soul, raw, real, emotional music. He modeled his entire vocal approach on Otis Redding's power and honesty. Before every recording session, engineers remember Steve sitting quietly, playing "Try a Little Tenderness" over and over, sometimes even crying. He would say, "That's real singing, not the arena rock garbage they make me do," according to insiders. Perry often begged the band to experiment with soul-inspired tracks, but management wanted radio hits, not heart. Neil Schon and Jonathan Cain reportedly rolled their eyes whenever Steve brought up Otis Redding's name. That rejection slowly crushed him. One doctor later claimed that the hip injury that ended Perry's career wasn't entirely physical, it was his body rebelling against a life that no longer felt true. Steve's number 1 choice, Otis Redding, represents the artist he might have become if fame hadn't trapped him in a world he never truly belonged to. So there you have it, Steve Perry's 7 favorite musicians, each revealing a hidden chapter of his life. From Aretha Franklin's piercing honesty to Otis Redding's soul-shaking legacy, every name tells the story of a man torn between perfection and passion. Did Steve Perry sacrifice his true voice for commercial success? Or did the industry simply never understand the soul inside him? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if this story opened your eyes to the man behind the music, hit that like button and subscribe to Legend Uncovered for more untold stories, hidden feuds, and emotional confessions from the legends of rock. Until next time, keep believing in the music.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.